Meeting will come to order. Council agenda, Township Parsippany-Troy Hills Township Council agenda meeting of September 6, 2016.
Posting of notice. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 17, 2015, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on December 22, 2015, and the Newark Star Ledger on December 24, 2015, and was forwarded by fax to the local newspapers and local radio stations on December 17, 2015. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision, Public Access Channel 21 at 11 o'clock a.m. on Sundays, and are also available at viewing at www.parsippany.net.
If you could all stand for the flag salute. Mr. Creefy.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Present.
Mr. Peluso?
Present.
Mr. Valori?
Here.
Also in attendance are Ellen Sandman, Business Administrator, Ann Cucci, CFO, Mayor James Barbario, Township Attorney John Inglesino, and the Township Clerk Colette Madden. Mr. President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Our upcoming meetings will be September 20th. That will be at 7:30. That will be our regular meeting. The following will be October 4th at 7:30. That will be our agenda meeting. Approval of minutes, none. Presentations and reports, Mayor?
Yep. Dr. Mayul Shah.
Glasses. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Doesn't have his glasses.
New to proclamation, Pain Awareness Month, which is September, so, Doc, ready? Township? All right, clerk, you gotta get a new set.
Just tap on it. There it goes. All right.
Colette, I don't mean to put any pressure on you. Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills proclamation, whereas chronic pain is a costly and growing concern throughout the United States. Tens of thousands of New Jersey residents suffer from chronic pain caused by various injuries, diseases, and disorders, more than from cancer, heart disease, and diabetes combined. And whereas back pain is a leading cause of disability in America under the age of 45, and chronic pain is a leading cause of lost work days and costs an estimated $100 billion in lost productivity every year and results in higher health care costs. And whereas interventional pain consultants, Morris Anesthesia Group, and St. Clair's Hospital have combined their efforts to improve the quality of life for people with chronic pain. And whereas increased awareness about the effects of chronic pain will help facilitate better outcome and improve quality of life for those suffering from chronic pain and increase access to appropriate pain management, treatment, and whereas during this month, by raising awareness of pain issues in Parsippany, we encourage citizens to learn more and to respect those living with pain. Now therefore, I, James R. Barbario, the Mayor of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2016 as Pain Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to join in expressing appreciation for the outstanding services rendered by members of the profession who on a daily basis dedicate their lives to helping those who live with chronic pain. This is for you, Mr. Shah. Dr. Shah.
Thank you.
Would you like to make any comments?
I would just like to thank the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills for allowing us to make aware of the citizens of chronic pain. We just want to make sure that there are people are aware that there are many options, not just pain medications. And I know there's a big opioid epidemic, and we're trying to help with decreasing that by providing the services that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Dr. Shaw. Thank you, and I'll say this. When he talks about the opiate problem, there is a problem in Morris County, and we have an organization called Morris County for a Better Choice, and it's I'll invite you to one of the meetings that we have, because a lot of opiate problems stem from medicines that have been given due to pain, back problems, knee, and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be more than love to have you at the meeting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I got to turn this around now. Anybody sing? Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
next.
Thank you.
My fault.
We needed that air conditioning. Oh, man.
What's going on?
Okay, we're going to proceed forward. Business Administrator?
Thank you, Council President. I know we all cannot imagine that it's been 15 years since September 11th. There is going to be a ceremony at the Morris County 9/11 Memorial on West Hanover Avenue, and that will be at 6 p.m. Guest speaker will be the Lieutenant Governor and the family of New York City firefighter Tommy Sabella. So this is something we've been posting around for people to make themselves aware of this event 15 years later. The other thing I'd like to just point out is various things that we work on that have to do with how we try to save some funds and do things which are a win-win situation. My Secretary Administrative Assistant, Ann, has been working, and she's finally got it put together. And what it's called is Gov Deals. We put on a rather large website the sale of used vehicles, apparatus, and we pay nothing. It gets removed. We get the full funding of the amount. The only difference is what they also pay to the Gov Deals, which is the entity that we utilize to sell our vehicles that are no longer have a use for us. And we do bring in the money that will go to Ann, and she takes that very nicely into miscellaneous revenue. So we're pleased about that we try to find ways in which to remove things from the area that we don't have to cost us to move it. We have Gov Deals doing that. Another thing is we talk about grants and us pursuing monies. I'm happy to report that through the auspices of the sewer utility, they have received, it looks like we'll be receiving a grant for $150,000 for taking a look at our treatment plant. And I want to thank Joe and Joanne of the Sewer Authority for putting that together. We'll have some more information on that at the meeting of the 20th. The only other thing I have, and it has to do with the bids that we've taken. I haven't had a chance to talk with Ann or to Mike, but on here are the North Beverwick, and that has to do with the grant from the governor's office. I don't know whether, would it be, if I could just, you think we should wait till the 20th? See if they're- What we'd like to put that on is for approval at the meeting of the 20th to see if we can reach out to the governor's office. As you know, those funds that we did receive, and not receive the funds, but the fact that we were supposed to be receiving some funds from the state, they put that on hold due to the fact that the funds, the funding of that is in very bad shape, and they've talked about various ways, one of which was the increase in the gas tax. That has not happened, so this is still a very tenuous situation. I will say, however, because of dealing with other capital projects, if money is not available, I know that this is a street and roads that need to be taken care of, that we would have to prepare another capital ordinance. But I'm hopeful that we maybe can get some information from the state on the fact that we can move forward on it and not have to fund it through other means. Thank you.
I'll add to that. BA. I met with a representative from the governor's office, Council President, on Friday. Came to my office. We discussed the various projects. We discussed North Beverwick Road. I'm not quite sure if it's fully funded now, but he's going to let us know that even if we do the project, and we still might be eligible to get the grant, but, you know, he'll let me know more this week.
All right, great. Thank
That's why
you.
it's advisable to wait for the 20th. It's not going to be that much, and then we'd have a better stand on it.
All right, great, thank you.
Okay.
Our township attorney?
Thank-
Financial.
Oh, well, they have it after the township attorney.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Would you like to go first, Dan? You can go. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Council President. One report tonight for public session. I think as some in the township know, the township was sued on August 30th by Parkside Gardens Parsippany Associates, Inc. That's an entity owned by Mr. Mossberg, who is here this evening in relation to the Forge Pond project. The suit seeks to compel the township to sign a developer's agreement for that project. And our policy is and has been not to discuss matters of pending litigation in open session, and that is a good policy for good reason. However, in consultation with the mayor and the business administrator, I've decided that a brief recitation of facts that are available to the public is in order, since this is a project that is of public interest and of public concern. The facts are that back in June of 2013, the township entered into sort of an omnibus settlement agreement with Mr. Mossberg, covering a variety of issues, most notably, though, for purposes of this conversation, the Forge Pond project. And the agreement essentially provided that in consideration for permitting the construction of 52 townhome units, and let me back up, the Forge Pond property as a whole is approximately 130 acres. And I'm going to speak in approximate acreages because it could vary a little bit based upon the size of the dam property, and I mean literally a dam property that has a dam on it, and also some detention areas and so forth. In approximate numbers, the whole tract is approximately 130 acres. And in consideration, among other things, for the development of the 52 units, the balance of the acreage, 115 acres or so, would be deeded over to the township for open space. Now, within that 115 acres, there is a parcel, which for illustrative purposes we'll say is 5 acres, plus or minus. That 5 acres has on it a dam. And that dam is regulated by the DEP, and the township was provided a due diligence period of 120 days to decide whether or not it wanted to take title to the Forge Pond Dam property. And if we were to do that, the developer would also provide the township with a check for $350,000, which would presumably cover any costs associated with repairing or breaching the dam or doing any environmental work with regard to soils in or around the dam. Well, the township was really not able to do its due diligence on the dam property, and so the township has decided to pass on the dam, notwithstanding the fact that I think that the position of the township, certainly the position of the township representatives at the time, was very clear in indicating that they would like for the township to have title to the dam. The dam has some historical significance. I don't think it's registered on the historic registry or anything like that, but does have historical significance in terms of the role it played going back to the Revolutionary War with regard to munitions and the like. So there was a strong desire to get the dam, but
you have to know what you're getting and not have an unquantified cost associated with it that wouldn't be responsible to the taxpayer. So the township passed on obtaining the dam, notwithstanding the fact that it wanted it, and the developer proceeded with its application before the planning board. Now, the agreement provided, the language of the agreement provided that the developer could construct the 52 units and deed over the quote-unquote environmentally sensitive areas to the township, which everyone, including the developer's representatives, which I will speak to in a moment, understood that clearly to be the remainder of the property. There was no dispute as to that. It was very clear in the minds of everyone, or most everyone, including the developer's representatives. And I would point to a letter of August 8th, 2013 from the developer's attorney to the Township Planning Board, in which he says, and I quote, that the developer will seek to subdivide the Forge Pond property into 2 lots. One will contain a townhome development consisting of 52 townhome lots, and the balance of the property consisting of all the remaining uplands and wetlands will be conveyed to the township as open space. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the developer's attorney as written in a letter to the planning board secretary. So there was clear understanding of what was intended by the agreement. But like the infomercial says, but wait, there's more. The developer's engineer testified under oath before the planning board that approximately 14 acres of the site will be utilized for the construction of the 52 townhome units, while the remaining 118 acres located primarily in the rear of the property will be dedicated to the township for open space. We have approximately 130 acres on the tract. You need about 14 for the development. That leaves about 115 acres. That's all the acreage for the site. Wetlands, uplands, whatever you want to label it, it's all of the property. The testimony from the developer's engineer was all of it would be conveyed to the township. But there's more. The developer's planner also testifying under oath at the hearing before the planning board testified that 90% of the property is being preserved as open space, with only 10% being utilized for development. Now, I went to law school. I wasn't much for math, but 90% of 130 acres is about 115 acres. So there's another or more testimony, or at least communication on the record, from another one of the developer's attorneys who requested that the board grant the developer's application as the plan proposed, that's the one before the planning board that we discussed, represents sound planning in the form of cluster development, maximize preservation of open space, and results in low impact density despite the high density of the development. So here you have 4 representatives of the developer in 4 different instances, 2 under oath, 1 made by the lawyer representing the developer, and not just in this application, lawyer who's represented this developer very closely for many, many years, all representing to the township that the township receives the balance of the property. And that's all pursuant to the settlement agreement. And indeed, the township proceeded on that basis by awarding the approvals, by the issuance of permits, and by permitting the property to go forward. In fact, there were several telephone calls, one occurring in July of 2014, one occurring on August 19th of 2015, all in which the developer's attorney provided assurances that the deeds were being prepared, they were having issues with the surveyor. There were a lot of excuses as to why the deeds were not forwarded to the township, but that it was all in the works. And unfortunately, what we've learned is that really wasn't true. We learned that in the first instance on July 23rd of 2015, when this developer, through another entity, intervened in our Mount Laurel lawsuit and proposed to develop a multifamily project on the very Forge Pond property that he was supposed to convey to the municipality. And I think that's when our antenna went up and said, wait a minute, have we really been being dealt with here in good faith? And then subsequently, the developer removed that from its proposal, and we were at the negotiating table, negotiating again for the very things, in many instances, such as the Forge Pond property, that had been supposedly agreed upon. We have been attempting to obtain due diligence materials with regard to the dam. We know for a fact that there is a voluminous amount of due diligence and expert reports that have been performed with regard to the dam property, which have not been shared with the township. And so we really don't know. The township doesn't know what it would be getting itself into if it were to take title to the property. While $350,000 is a significant sum of money, who knows whether it's significant in the context of what it may cost to deal with the property once you hold the title to it. And so we entered into a series of negotiations in which the township has attempted to resolve this matter. I looked in our computer system today to give you an idea of how extensive these negotiations have been. We have 15 versions of a settlement agreement on our computer system. 15 versions of a settlement agreement. So to say that the effort has been made is, I think, an understatement. That fact, I think, speaks volumes. And unfortunately, when the issue of good faith, when the township became abundantly clear, was on August 30th, when the developer sued the township, seeking to compel the township to sign the developer's agreement, even though this developer never conveyed the property to the township as it was obligated to do. And so a stop work order was issued with regard to the property as a result of those facts, not something the township wanted to do, and work has been stopped. The reason is because of non-compliance with the planning board resolution, which incorporates all of those representations made by the developer's attorney. And notwithstanding those representations, notwithstanding the language of the settlement agreement, we still don't have the Forge Pond property, and at this point, it doesn't appear as though there's a real interest in providing it to us on the terms that had been previously agreed upon, and so the township has been sued. Those are just facts that I think that those in the public who are interested in this matter probably need to know. I'm not going to discuss litigation strategy. I'm not going to discuss the merits. I would counsel the elected representatives to refrain from making any comments in regards to this matter, since it is in litigation. But again, in consultation with the mayor and the business administrator, we felt that it was important to at least get out into the public domain public facts, and that's all these were, was public facts that are easily corroborated by the public record. And that concludes my report, Mr. Council President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I answer?
Yes, there's a public portion, which will be in a few minutes. We still have to go through the rest of,
I want to answer the,
and you'll be allowed to do that once we get to the public portion.
thank you.
Thank you. CFO?
Maybe I should have gone first. Just two things. One is, we have two ordinances back on the agenda for introduction. It's just for technicality. They're the same capital ordinances. I believe I spoke about it before. So it's just reintroduction and reapproval again. So there's no new money, okay, involved. And also, just so you know, on the 20th, there will be a presentation for, by the Stephen Kay, who designed the golf range and the master plan. He'll be doing a presentation to you all about the golf range and the master plan for the golf. And at that point, we should be awarding the golf range, which went out to bid. We're just still reevaluating it a bit. And also, there will be a presentation by Darren, I don't know how to say his name, I'll be honest with you, the architect, who will talk about the east.
Okay.
Okay? And that'll be on the 20th.
All right, thank you very much. Township Clerk?
No report at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
Great. Any committee reports from the council members?
Just one thing I want to say. Actually, September is a national campaign right now to promote awareness of ovarian cancer and its symptoms. So I just wanted to make sure the public's aware that every woman is at risk for ovarian cancer, and 1 out of 70 women are diagnosed per year. So screening is very important, and prevention is important as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything for the engineering report? Okay, great. Bids to be taken, one was taken on August 31st. That was the elevator subcode official. And then for September 1st, that was 2015-2016 practice facility project. And to be taken, September 14th, 11 a.m., CO proposal for 2 new 2016 adult mini buses with a Freightliner custom chassis, S2C StarTrans PS2 or approved equivalent. Quotations, proposals, and qualifications, none. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Floor is open.
If anybody from the public would like to come forward, you will have approximately 3 minutes. If you could sign in and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to give your presentation.
Good evening. My name is Walter Gesak.
And if you could sign in also, go on.
Oh, sure. I'm here with my father. He bought municipal bonds from the township of Parsippany-Troy, and he's been trying to redeem these coupons, and we're just getting the runaround, and we're trying to get the issue resolved. It's for, I believe, $5,000, and we've contacted Ann before, and she said, we're not going to pay. Well, guys, if I owe you money, you'd be chasing me down forever.
Okay. All right, on this, do you have anything else that you would like to say, or?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't recall telling you we
No,
weren't going.
you and I have never
Okay.
spoke.
Yeah.
You and I have never spoke. It was your office when I called in. They said that we're not going to be paying that. You have to go through your depository.
Well, that is true. However, what I just said to your dad,
Yes.
and I took the copies because the clerk's office mentioned that you had come. I'm going to contact the attorney, the bond attorneys, okay, and see what we can do on this. This has been redeemed back in, wow, I want to say years ago, actually.
20 years ago, I think.
And we pay, what happens is we pay a paying agent all the money, and then they contact the people. I don't pay myself. However, I will contact our bond attorney to find out what to do, if I can do anything. So if you could provide me a phone number as well. I did make copies of everything.
Okay, we'll do
Keep the
that.
coupon. I don't want the coupon.
We have.
Yeah, hold on to those.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll help, but I will
Okay.
contact someone for you, and if you can give me your number
All right, I'll give
offline.
you my father's
Yeah,
number.
no
and I'll sign
problem.
this. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else from the public?
Council President, I just
Okay.
want to let you know, on Ann's behalf, I mean, we do get a little emotional over here because we never say we can't. We really do try.
No.
No, it wasn't.
I never spoke to Ann,
Okay, good.
ever.
Okay.
I never, ever spoke to Ed.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public who'd like to come forward? If you could please, if you could sign in and state your name. You could state your name and then you could sign in. Yes, if you could state your name. Okay, great.
Speaking to the mic.
Oh, if you could use the microphone. You'll be a celebrity, you can use the microphone.
It's all right. My name is Ed Mossberg.
Okay, and what would you like to state, sir?
I'm sorry.
All right.
There you go.
See?
I just want to correct Mr. Agostino on his statement.
Okay.
For many years, we give deeds to that property, and they never recorded, and was always sensitive piece of land that we were giving the deed to it. Okay? I'm very sorry that I'm here without my attorney, because
That's
she
fine.
will answer this, but it's okay. We had several meetings that you was present, Mr. DiPiero was present, Mr. Agostino, and the mayor. We sit down, we agree, shake hand, everything's done. Okay? The next day I hear no, it's changed already. And this was many meetings went through. Okay? Sometime this year, in the beginning of this year, I proposed on the upland some apartment building. The next thing I heard that we got a phone call, they're going to stop the job if we don't back out from it. So I decided I back out from it, okay? And in the first place, they give us a permit to work from year and a half on that property, okay? And at once, because we filed a lawsuit against the township, they stop the job. You have here people here, they depends, there are few people, but I figured out that over 100 people, they depend on the money that they're earning it, okay? Without this, they cannot live, okay? You can ask each and every one, and you have them under conscience, not me, because I can live without this. We invest in that property millions and millions of dollars, okay? And we can wait till everything is straightened out, with the exception that I don't like to be threatened by stopping the job because I consider it a blackmail, okay? And I don't like it that I'm being blackmailed by the township. Recently, we gave you a copy of a deed for 124 acres to the whole land, okay? They didn't accept it because they found something else. Now, originally, you did not want the dam. They wanted the land without the dam, okay? You had the 90 days to take it. The agreement was to have a 90 days to accept it or not. So they asked after 90 days, they said, no, we want to have another 90 days and another 90 days. And they dropped. That I understand it was the ones that voted that they don't want the property here, okay? You voted on it. Do you remember? I'm just asking you.
We're not allowed to answer back.
Oh, you
have
don't
to
laugh?
finish, yes.
Oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry.
And you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yes. Take your
From
time.
now on or from the beginning?
From that point right now.
Oh, from that, okay. I was told, I tell you one thing, I was told once that I have only 2 minutes to talk, and they had to force me out from it, okay? So, now you don't want the dam or you wanted the dam, I don't know, okay? Because how I understand is a historical thing. Mr. DiPiero, he said, we wanted the dam as is, okay? So I understand you made a meeting, scheduled a meeting in Trenton, okay? And I offered at that time $350,000 that you have enough money to repair it in case you need it. Okay, then I offer you another 150, another 200,000. You want more? Okay, just to show you a goodwill. Okay, I have it here. Are you familiar with the letter from the state that they said to date then has not been repaired or permanently breached? That we have the choice what to do, breach it or to repair it. Okay? I have a here from the engineers an estimate how much will cost the breaching. For the breaching, estimate is $250,000, landscaping item included, the vernal pools that are being required by the New Jersey, better pricing on the vernal pool, and stream restoration are probably needed. Okay, that this will cost less than $250,000, but I offer you $350,000. Okay. You didn't want it, so go back to this because it's off. The whole proposals is off. Okay? The same thing you have to remember. I filed a lawsuit against the township on the water. Okay? And I promise I'm going to drop it. Okay? And this, if you're going through with it, will cost you millions of dollars. You want it, you can have it. Because I did already sue the township, and they lost several million of dollars. And then when I won this, I did not want to take the money. I did not accept it because I didn't want to put the township into the bankruptcy. Okay?
You have 30 seconds, sir.
What?
30 seconds.
My watch showed me another minute. Okay?
We'll negotiate
I
that.
tell you what this, I give you the 30 seconds, you can have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your
You're
time, Mr. Mossberg. Anybody else to come forward?
I tell you why, because my son-in-law don't let me talk, because he said, I don't want that I have to pick you up with the ambulance.
Make sure you take care of him. How are you, sir? If you could state your name?
I am well. I am Randy Tortorello. I am the town historian.
Okay.
I am also president of Parsippany's Historical and Preservation Society. I'm also on the Historical Advisory Committee. Not anyone from the other committees could be here tonight, but I've spoke to all of them today. And this has been going on for so long that honestly, I'm not anywhere near understanding the legal terms of it. All I know is that we've been told that in good faith, we would get that piece of property. That piece of property, which you mentioned, revolutionary, it's actually back to about 1730 when that started. There would be no Troy Hills if that dam had not been put there and that pond. It wasn't just for the war, it was for the implements for the township to use. It's a very important site. It's the furthest forge east in the United States. And the property is encompassing. You can't just pick out little spots of it and try to put something there without destroying the look of that entire area, which if anybody has been there, is an absolutely magnificent piece. It is right there, that forge, in that, oh God, the seal,
crest,
right,
the seal.
sorry. To me, it's very, very important, regardless of how you decide how to do it, what has to be done. The township had decided with its open space money to purchase the 2.6 acres that the Smith Baldwin house is on, which we are all in the process of having restored through the grants through Morris County.
1 minute, sir.
Okay. From that area, you can walk along the back of that area all the way to Forge Pond. Eventually, we will be able to purchase the property all the way back there to make that a passive area for recreation. So to me, it's very important that that stays the way it is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Randy.
Anybody else from the public like to come forward? Can you please state your name?
Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. I wasn't going to plan on speaking, but I'm just going to back up what Randy said. If the town allows that dam to be breached, there's really no purpose on keeping that property. But when I was sitting in the back of the room listening to Mr. Inglesino and Mr. Mossberg speak, and we have the entire 2013 council in the room tonight who backed me up on it. When the council did settle this a little over 3 years ago, we were at a council meeting in one of the high schools, and the question that the public brought up was, if the town were to go ahead and settle it, would they be receiving all 130 acres of property? And Mr. Inglesino, like you said tonight, you assured everybody, you assured the public, you assured the council that it was going to be. But one of the questions that was raised that night, which none of us really got a good answer for, and now it's all starting to come to light, was in the original settlement agreement, there was a provision that 3 acres of upland would be separated from the whole original part of the agreement. And when that was asked, we never got a specific answer. And then going back, even after we settled it that night, the settlement that we all agreed to did say it didn't have a specific amount of acreage, but it just said the environmentally sensitive lands. And now it's all becoming very clear why we're here tonight, because that settlement certainly, we didn't agree to what we thought it was. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your time. Anybody else from the public?
Good evening.
Good evening,
Carlos Guzman, 1 Friar Road. It's in the Sedgefield section of Parsippany. This is the request of the follow-up of last meeting of the council meeting we had last Tuesday, August 16th, for the removal of 2 trees, one on my property and one on the neighbor's property, by which you had given the same consideration for the removal of a tree some time ago under the same circumstances. Where the tree was planted after complete work of the road was done, by which he never had the tree there before. And the same thing I was asking at the last meeting here. I understand he also, if not approved under that condition, that he also had made this assembly aware the last time, that the fact that according to the township ordinance under Article 9 Improvements, Chapter 225-63, Tree Shade, Section D, states that no trees shall be planted within 50 feet of an intersection. Now, of course, that's a general statement, meaning that this particular ordinance does state 50 feet from an intersection, does not state if the intersection is on top of a tree, of a T of an intersection, or side to side. So I can understand if there's a tree that definitely is cars cannot see, that you definitely cannot have a tree in that cell. But, however, the ordinance does state 50 feet below 50 feet, that tree, there should not be a tree there. And, of course, again, the tree was never planted there. So I was told at the last council meeting that, of course, the committee will look into the matter. It has been 3 weeks now. I have assumed that someone from the Township Engineering Department or Road Department at least come out to measure the distances of these trees. Of the intersection, leave me a notice, or at least, of course, give me a certification. I would like to have, with the permission of the council president, Dr. Valori, I would like to request that a motion for yes or no to no vote made tonight by the council on at least the question. If anything else, if the recently planted trees in question on my property and on my next door door neighbor's property at 2 Robin Hood Road are in fact under the 50 feet ordinance rule from an intersection, they should then be removed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Did we get an answer from Jimmy Walsh about, we were supposed to get an answer about trees,
Yeah, I
if
was
they
gonna-
were removed?
I was going to answer that.
Okay.
Oh, great. I did meet with Mr. Walsh, I met with the mayor, and I met with, that would have been Justin Rashada, the township attorney, one of the township attorneys, sorry about that, John, probably about a week and a half ago. Was that about a week and a half ago? And we sent Mr. Walsh out to your property to give us an idea exactly where the tree was located. And he had indicated, like you stated, that, you know, the tree was at the T of that intersection. So in regards to your retired police officer like myself, making a left or right at that corner, look at the T, that tree would not impede any vision. If it was on the left or right, there could be a gray area there where that tree might be impeding, you know, the vision of sight as to making that left or right turn. On top of that, we did some history on that development where you live back in Sedgefield, and I had them go back in time to validate work that was done back there. And from 2010 to basically 2015, Sedgefield area has had significant amount of work done back there in the on the roadway, on the curbing, along with the drainage. And from my understanding, all work that's been done back there, if there's trees that need to be replaced or trees that didn't have a spot, it was the policy of the town to obviously, you know, put those trees where they would be needed on township property, because you have your right of way on the property. To be quite frank, this council did make a mistake by voting to have that one gentleman's tree removed from his property. When he came forward here a couple weeks ago in regards to his property being property that had, you know, been rated in the past and judged and received, I guess, the best, you know, piece of manicured property back in, I guess, Frank Priori's day, Mayor Frank Priori. Speaking to the township attorney, it was really unwise for us to make a decision to have that tree removed. And unfortunately, that tree is going to have to get placed back on his property, because it should be placed back there due to the fact that there's 2010, back in Sedgefield, we spent $747,000 a town. Back in 2013, we spent $855,000 in improvements. Back in 2014, we spent $1,260,000. 2015, which is Phase 5, we spent $1,215,000. So significant amount of work's been done in the area back there, and they're just trying to keep the town at its tradition of the policy of placing trees where they should be on township property or replacing trees. So needless to say, we're gonna have to reach out to the gentleman that owns that property, that the tree is gonna have to be replaced back on there, because if we start removing trees, we're gonna be in a more of a bind in regards to having to remove possibly 2 or 3 dozen trees right on that property, meaning back in the Sedgefield area.
With all due respect, that didn't answer the question, though. Last meeting, we were told that Jimmy Walsh was going to be asked how long a tree could be planted before it could be removed without killing the tree. That was the question that we were supposed to get an answer to see if we could remove Mr. Guzman's tree without killing that tree. That was the information that we were supposed to be provided for at
Okay.
this meeting. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, the ordinance, like Mr. Guzman says, does not say if it's to the left or to the right of an intersection. It specifically just states 50 feet from an intersection. I'll ask Mr. Inglesino for a legal answer on that, because according to what the ordinance states, that tree is within 50 feet of an intersection. It doesn't say, well, it's to the left or right if it blocks someone's view. We brought up the point that he never had a tree in the first place. There were other houses in the neighborhood that had trees that they didn't get them because the town never kept track of who had a tree and who didn't have a tree. It's ludicrous that we're going to go back now and put a tree back on Mr. Voll's property when the gentleman's
does not want a tree, we're going to waste manpower, money to put a tree on someone's yard that doesn't want a tree. I think that's ridiculous, and I'd ask for a legal opinion on this ordinance because it says 50 feet of an intersection, not, well, if it blocks a vision, if it's to the left or if it's to the right.
Well, you were a retired police officer, and you know that if you're making a left or right, okay,
I'm just
doesn't
saying
matter.
what the ordinance
Doesn't- okay,
says.
but you're a police officer like myself, and if you're making a left or right. Yes.
I spoke to Jimmy Walsh also, okay? And he says that a T intersection is not an intersection, first of all. So then you get involved with the visibility.
Visibility,
issue.
absolutely.
But a T, and where is this place? But the township, anytime, according to Jimmy Walsh now, anytime the township installs curbing and drainage in a neighborhood, the policy and the guidance the guidelines he's been given is when we put in curbing and drainage, that we put in trees, even if they have not been there before.
And that's why
And that's what-
I
and
read
that's
off
what
the
he-
Did we ever
numbers
get
here.
the answer to what we were supposed to get?
No.
Mr. Walsh was supposed to provide us with an answer.
Okay.
How long until
What?
the trees
But
they can be removed? And what you just said, Mr. Inglesino, you said Mr. Walsh stated a T intersection is not an intersection.
Mr. DePiero.
A T intersection. You said
I'm
no.
quoting-
Mr. Walsh stated
No, you-
T intersection is not an
I
intersection.
know, you said, like
Okay.
Mr.
Oh,
Inglesino
sorry.
just stated, he meant Mr. DePiero.
Well, he just stated a T
Okay.
intersection. That's an intersection.
Okay, here's what I suggest you do
And we're gonna go
then.
back and plant a tree in that man's yard. That's ridiculous.
Well,
Incompetence.
okay. The reality was this. The gentleman came up to the council members. We, as a council member, Mr. Karifi knows the gentleman. Obviously, he approached Mr. Karifi in the past. We tried to act in good faith, hear out what occurred, okay? Basically, what we should have done at the time, the council as a whole, we should have really gotten better guidance from our township attorney at the time, okay? We made the decision based on, the gentleman being elderly, concerned about this. In the past, his property was judged. I did my due diligence. I told you that I would look into it. I met with Mr. Walsh. I found out the facts of how much money has been invested there, and I know more money is going to be invested in Sedgefield Park because I know there's going to be improvements there. I know that you didn't want a tree in your property. I thought there might be a gray area if that property, if that tree was on the area of where you're making a left and right. Knowing as a police officer, I've been on calls where you have to go get trees trimmed or taken down. The property where you live is at the T. We had asked Mr. Walsh that in regards to that. He said it doesn't apply to that. That's what we were advised. In regards to how old the tree has to be or what's the minimum requirement before you could pull that tree out, I didn't get, that's the only answer I did not get for you. But I did do my homework. I met here. I looked into it. So I'm reporting back to you the facts of what occurred.
But we based our decision on if a property had a tree, the tree was replaced. If it didn't have a tree,
Well,
And the person-
if I may, I was not asked in advance of the meeting or in advance of the vote on the tree. It wasn't an issue that came to my attention. So it wasn't one that I provided any legal guidance on because it kind of came up at the meeting.
Yes.
So I did not provide any legal guidance on that. You have an ordinance. You should follow the ordinance. Obviously, there would be no intent on the ordinance's part to create a safety hazard where none existed. And so I think the ordinance has to be, the existing ordinance has to be construed in that context. But the larger policy question is whether or not you would seek to maintain the ordinance in its current status, or whether or not you would like to change the ordinance. And there are all kinds of considerations that would have to be factored in with regard, to that question. I would also say that, just legally, when there's a public right-of-way, it's a public right-of-way. It is there for the public's use, and it is, you're not really putting a tree on somebody else's yard. It's in the public right-of-way. And I'm not saying it's a good idea or a bad idea. The policy question is yours. My point is simply that when there's a public right-of-way, it's your right-of-way to decide what you want to put there or not. And so you have to weigh, and they're not easy policy decisions, but if you want to change the ordinance going forward, you have to weigh the potential desires of individual residents in the area versus the larger question of town beautification, of points you get towards green communities and all the other stuff, and you have to weigh all of those factors to decide what you want the policy to be going forward. But the answer is to either change the ordinance or leave the ordinance the way it is.
The way the ordinance is written now, it doesn't state if there's a tree to the left or the right that blocks your view. It just says 50 feet within an intersection, correct? That's what it says.
Yeah.
So technically, his house is 50 feet within an intersection. Doesn't say
Below,
the tree is to the
below
left or to
50
the
feet.
right.
It's 30 feet from that intersection.
So technically, the way the ordinance is written now,
So is the question whether or not, the way the ordinance is written now, whether or not the tree should be there or not, relative to
Well,
his
that's one of the
property?
questions.
Well, that's one of them,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, I'd look at that with you legally after the meeting and give you a decision. I don't have one off the top of my head, but.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you could look
Just
into
let you know,
it,
Mr.
I'll look at
Guzman,
the way it's written now.
My interaction with the other township attorney, with Mr. Walsh and the mayor, was based on safety issues.
I understand.
Where if somebody's making the left or right and there's a tree there or a bush impeding your vision to make that turn, where you don't want to hit another car or hit somebody, that's what it was based on. Now, if there's a gray technicality there, where Mr. Creepy could get with, obviously, Mr. Inglesino, and we could rehash that, I have no problem. But based on what we were given, but Mr. Walsh did go out to your property, and, I had the business administrator pull the monies that have been invested back there, and I know other money is going to be spent on the infrastructure of the park or anything else like that. I just believe that the
Yeah.
town has been acting in good faith. It's unfortunately, you didn't want the tree.
No, of course.
And I understand. It's
No,
just
of
that,
course.
I wish
Now-
we would have had.
Now, if forgive me, Dr.
That's okay.
Valori, if you don't mind, can I then stand on having that motion done to be able to have the vote by the council? If the rule was, and it'll state either way, if it's on a TE or a regular intersection, if my tree was under that 50 feet, would it be yes or no?
I have no problem with that.
Why don't you, I would advise not to take any, let me take a look at it.
Yeah, take
and-
us
And don't
advice
take
to
any
look at
action
it, yeah.
tonight. and
Okay, all right. So I don't have to wait another 2 months? Okay, you'll let me know. Appreciate it.
Mr. Guzman, before you leave, I just want to say that, I do not agree respectfully with the council president. My motion to approve the other gentleman's tree to be removed was based upon a material statement made by the mayor that there was an ordinance in place that said if you don't have a tree, it will not be put in. So afterwards, he had indicated that he made a mistake, so now this is where we are. But I voted for that based upon the fact that there was a material statement made that there was an ordinance in place that did not exist after all. There was no legal determination on that, and I did not base it upon age or awards or knowing people. So I want to make that clear, that I treat everybody equally and respectfully. Furthermore, not getting back to you in several weeks, so it's great that they all met and they spoke, but I apologize for the administration not getting back to you. Respectfully, we should have been notifying you immediately after that determination was made. So at this point, if the ordinance is read according to an intersection and not defined as a type of intersection, I agree that the tree should be removed based upon the ordinance as it stands right now.
Mr. Guzman, I'd like to do a little follow-up on that. One thing that Council Vice President Peluso fails to realize is that obviously we're going to have the township attorney research that area of that technicality. But there's an issue there. There was other residents that live back there that wanted their tree removed. And right now, based on the recommendation that I have with the mayor, the other township attorney, we had discussion with Mr. Walsh, that we would truly be open up a major issue of having maybe dozens of trees removed there. Those are the facts that he's failing to mention. If there's a technical issue there, again, I came out of my time to sit down, do research of what we spent on there, do research, sending Mr. Walsh over there. Trust me, I spent my time researching that, and I figure you would be here at a council meeting. If you didn't show up, I would have reached out to you because I see you at my church all the time. So needless to say, I do thank you for showing up here, and hopefully this area there might be a technicality, and maybe we might be able to work out something with you with that.
And hopefully, that particular ordinance can be rewritten the right way. That way it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll take a look at it. In fact, Paul, if you have it, we can look at it tonight
Thank you.
if you want. And,
Can I just clarify one thing, Council
Yeah.
President? Because you stated something correct. First of all, no one has to apologize for me, Mr. Guzman, so no, the Council Vice President, no disrespect. I did correct myself saying it was policy. It was policy, but that doesn't mean that it's an ordinance, and I said that in that form. But I did meet with you, and I did tell you in my office that if we take your tree down, we're going to be taking a lot of other trees down in this town. I can tell you how many complaints I've gotten when we did the reconstruction of phases 1 and 2 in Lake Hiawatha. Residents did not want trees on their property. So once we remove the trees on your property, if this is what the council wants to do, and on your neighbor's property, I'm just wanting you to be aware, be prepared to be removing a lot of other trees. And now we could talk about cost effective. We'll be putting Parks and Forestry to work day and night because people don't want trees on their property. And as the township attorney said, the right of way belongs to the town. And this is, and when I spoke to the Jimmy Walsh, the whole idea of the beautification is to keep up with our green energy initiatives. It's to keep up with our Tree City USA. But if we start taking trees down, because we just can't do it for one, and that was one of the mistakes probably we made, we're going to do it for other people as well. And I get the complaints, believe me. I can tell you there's a lot of people that don't want the trees. So we have to be very careful on what we decide on this matter. And I was very upfront with you, and you were upfront with me, and I appreciated that. But that being said, that we'll look into the ordinance more. Jimmy Walsh did go out, look at your tree. He didn't feel it meets the criteria, but maybe he's wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
And Mr. Guzman, again, the question wasn't answered, and
Yeah.
the council president failed to answer that question still. We were asking, how long is it before we can remove a tree to be transplanted? We're not talking about cutting down trees or removing trees. We're talking about transplanting trees to areas where they're more viable if residents don't want it. And again, you are the taxpayer, and if the majority of your civic association firmly believes that the trees do not belong there according to the ordinance, then we need to address that.
And like I stated the last time, at least give us the benefit of a doubt, coming out and ask, knock on our doors and ask, and again, if the trees are going to be removed, I suggest that definitely they mark them on the map, make sure that those trees go back on that same area, so that way those residents that always wanted their tree and love their trees at least can have that opportunity, having the trees back up there.
And if I may, because that's a good point.
Thank you.
Years ago,
Thank you, Mr. Guzman.
years ago, the township did that, and it was a total disaster. Total disaster, knocking on doors and asking residents if they wanted trees. It was a disaster.
The reality is, okay.
Maybe we'll deal with that one in the ordinance. I'll take a look at it and figure it out.
Good evening. My name is Ray Van Penen, site contractor for 34 years. Stop work order on a project usually comes with a good answer. From what I'm hearing from Mr. Mossberg and here from the attorney here, I know it's none of my business, but when you have a stop work order on a job, and we've been working there for a year and a half, I think it comes with a pretty logical answer of why the job stops after 40 units are built. You got roofs on buildings, you got buildings in the air, permits have been taken care of, inspections are being done every day by the town, and a stop work order comes on, from what I'm hearing back and forth over a piece of property, that I think you guys can work it out. I don't really believe the contractors that are doing the work, outside of 100 men not working, outside of material companies sending material to a project, and town employees too. They got to come out and inspect. I'm not sure if you guys are overly busy. Your guys are not doing that all day. They can't come inspect his job. Officers come through the project at night checking the job site. They have a job to do too. We're in the subject of I don't want to use the word of Mr. Motzberg, but I think it is kind of in a way where you got a gun against somebody's head that they have to do it or the project can't move on. The building is almost, that I know of, is 80% done. A stop work order should have an answer that should be worked out between the lawyers. That's just my opinion. You don't want to see plywood on the walls, do you? On the doors, where you guys don't work it out? What happens if you don't work it out for a year? You got a building sitting there, the grass ain't being cut. Now you got a vacated site. My opinion is you guys got to work it out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll sign in later. I was hoping for more than 3 minutes. Nicholas Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. In Wayne, New Jersey in 2007, the township won an open space case against, it was a Rupala, it was an Albanian Muslims. They wanted to put a church on a sensitive landscape, and the judge upheld the town. And I just want to read something. Mr. Berg and these guys over here who thinks Parsippany is putting a gun to somebody's head. If anything, I think Parsippany is too nice to developers in too many cases, helping them overstep their hardships. In so holding, the court indulged an extensive overview of the idea of open space. The court's historical recitation provided that our legislator has long recognized that the preservation of open space constitutes a public use, and therefore municipalities may utilize the eminent domain power to acquire property for this purpose. As early as 1917, the legislator enacted the Home Rule Act, now codified, blah, 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 which provides that a municipality may acquire property for open spaces by exercise of the power of condemnation. With the historical factors involved and the our own master plan, our aesthetic beauty and everything, we're being too nice to this guy, Mr. Berg, over here. And maybe he should send his work crew up to Glenmont Commons, because I think that was one of his projects, and they have a lot of problems there. Last meeting, I brought up the fact that we have a lot of qualified people in the town, and that maybe we should consider, rather than a committee or committees that do virtually nothing, that we should have an environmental commission. Now, Mr. Inglesino,
Nick, you have 1 more minute.
all right, he said only a state can enact. Yes, but it comes from the bottom up, from us, with an ordinance. I'd like to, Mr. Peluso's in charge of the environmental committee. I'd like to leave this paper with him, and has all the information you need as a council to consider the prospect of a committee, and it has many, many benefits. And I'll come back next week when I have my 5 minutes, and I'll reiterate some of this stuff. So I'd like to leave this with Mr. Peluso, and you guys are too nice. And one final word, if we were in conformance, regional conformance, Mr. Mossberg would have to be suing the state of New Jersey, not Parsippany. So, we're smart and we're dumb at the same time.
Mr. Horny,
Thank you, Nick.
if you can leave that with our clerk, and if the clerk can leave copies for everybody that's on council, please.
I only made one copy, it's like 10 pages.
It's okay, he'll distribute it. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to come forward?
Hi, I'm Katie Cassidy. I live at 7 Stephen Terrace. Just a real, I know I don't want to get sucked into the tree thing, but with all due respect, Jim Walsh is not a traffic engineer, and he his purview is the environmental aspect of things, and I'm sure he's fabulous at that. But looking at an intersection should be something that the attorney should be looking at, and potentially the traffic engineer should be looking at those things. On the agenda, the lawyer's name from the Dakotas law firm, you have it written as William B. Meyer. Online, it's William R. Meyer. Just want to make sure that if we have a contract with them, we have the right initial in there. I have just would like to ask for a couple of updates. I wanted to know how the archiving and the minutes and everything was going. And then I also, I know that you're looking to hire an attorney for bond ordinances. And I'm just curious, for the township attorney, the ordinance, or the resolution, I apologize, 2016-18 was voted down on February 16th, and I wanted to know if the council had taken any action looking for an attorney that might be acceptable to the council as a whole. And I wanted to get a status update on that.
Are you done asking questions?
That's it, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, in this form of government, the council does not have the power to appoint professionals, including attorneys and including bond counsel. Only the mayor has that power. The council's power is to approve that appointment or not approve that appointment. And in the absence of action, I have the authority as township attorney under the ordinance to ensure that the township's legal needs are being met by lawyers of appropriate experience. And Mr. Meyer, who I know personally and have worked with personally from the Dakotas firm, is a very able public finance bond lawyer, and I'm confident that he will serve the township's interests well in that regard.
Great, thank you. Anybody else from the public like to come forward?
Mr. Valori, if I could just comment on the minutes and the archives.
Okay.
So for the minutes, 2015, we have about 3 more months, and we should be up to completion, and 2016 is up to date. As far as the archiving is concerned, as you know, we have destroyed up until this point 1,000 boxes. We're still in the process of destroying, but we've recently implemented a computer system which will start managing these documents electronically. Training is supposed to start this week. It's not going to go live for another month or so, because at this point we're in the practice phase where we're trying to roll it out to each department slowly. And after we've worked out the kinks, we'll eventually roll it out throughout the town. So that's where we're at with that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to come forward? I see no one else would like to come forward. I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Grignani. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Okay, motion.
Great. Ordinances, statuses of adopted ordinances. Take a few moments to read. We had 2016:220. That was adopted August 16th, 2016. Ordinance number 2016:21. That was adopted August 16th, 2016. And ordinance number 2016:22. That was adopted August 16th, 2016. Okay, second reading of public hearing, none. Mr. DePiero, ordinance 2016:23.
Ordinance for introduction, 2016:23. An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing various capital improvements for the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills and appropriating $9,828,592, therefore, including a grant in the amount of $245,000 from NJOT, and providing for the issuance of $9,104,413 in general improvement bonds or notes of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills to finance part of the cost thereof. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on September 6, 2016, and that said ordinance be further considered for a second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on September 20th, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, second by Mrs. Grignani. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Paluso?
Ordinance 2016:24, an ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for golf course and recreation utility improvements in and for the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills and appropriating $119,177. Therefore, providing for the issuance of $113,218 in bonds or notes of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills to finance the same. Be it resolved that the ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on September 6, 2016, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on September 20, 2016 at 7:30 p.m., prevailing time or soon thereafter, as the matter may be reached at the municipal building on said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given the opportunity to be heard concerning the said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise the said ordinance with the notice of introduction, therefore being published in an official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, second by Mr. Carriffy. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Paul?
Resolutions 2016-151, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills awarding a contract to Top Line Construction Corporation for improvements to North Beverick Road for a total bid price of $913,305.08. Motion to approve made by myself.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. Carriffy, second by Mrs. Grignani. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Loretta?
Resolution 2016-152, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills awarding a contract to Rockborn Trucking and Excavation Incorporated for Fox Hill Road reconstruction project for a total bid price of $672,872.23. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, second by Mr. Carriffy. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consent agenda. Resolutions. You can take a moment to look over that.
I'd like to make a motion to remove number 4 to be voted on separately, please.
So that will be moved to the non-consent agenda for the September 20th meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, and I agree with that motion to move that because we have a conflict with that.
Okay, so if you're making, we don't need to make a motion, so all you have to do is just mention it
If
to
you
be
can make,
moved.
okay,
and we'll-
just put on the
Yes.
record, that's all.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Didn't have an issue with that. Great. Take a few moments to read over that. Okay. Applications, none. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion.
Motion made by, what was that? Rob?
And then
Oh.
seconded by Paul.
Yeah, motion made by Mr. Paluso, second by Mr. Carriffy. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
What are we voting on?
To adjourn.
Just
the
You
meeting.
wanna
adjourn
go
the
home?
meeting.
No, I want to stay.
For some reason, I thought we were going to close session with you, John.
I thought so,
I
too.
mean,
Yeah.
if you want to, you can.
No, it's all right. Yeah, that's why I had that
Yeah.
hesitation there. I was like,
All
whoa.
right, yes.
Okay,
Ms. Grignani?
I'm good.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
And Mr. Valori?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
John, you took me back
Have
there,
a nice
Mike.
evening, everyone.
All right. Oh, I know, I just, again, yeah, so I know the deal. I done that. Oh, they finally got back to you. We got the revised. Notice, I had complaints in the past from council members and people that
So we'll be in
were
touch.
5 minutes too long. And then, the reality is, think about it, when you go review somebody's resume, it's 30 seconds. They say the attention span to speak to somebody, it's no more than 2 minutes, because then you just lose the audience. And Robert's rules is 2 to 5.
Sounds like something.
But for you, because you know I care, I'll give you 5. That was a reason. Yeah, notice, and what I'd like you to do is this. This will make life easier. Welcome home. You have questions, a bunch of questions. You have a bunch of questions. You give some of them to us in the base, and then your heavy hitter ones, read out to us. By control at 3. And the other ones, council members. Shapiro loves reading a lot of stuff.